Right, welcome back to the On the Ramp podcast. Hello, Nathan.
Hello, Alex.
Hello. We're chewing the fat today.
We're going to chew the fat on people. We're going to chew people.
People, performance and profit.
Yes.
Mastering team management.
How did you come up with that?
What's the title? Just popped out of my mind, to be honest with you.
That was a shower thought.
Nothing to do with AI whatsoever.
No, nothing at all.
No. Who are we with today?
We are with Lauren Brown, Managing Director of T10 Automotive, and Carl Williams, Williams Management.
Williams Talent Management.
Talent Management, and we are talking about people, talent, and lots of orientation around that. Yeah. So really excited to get these guys on the podcast today. It's something that we haven't done. He's really drilled down and chewed the fat purely on people. I feel
people management.
Yeah, I think we do a lot of technical training talk in and around the podcast and outside of it, but really it's how we can harness the people. And I thought, who better to get on than Mr. Carl Williams?
Wow.
Hello, Carl.
Hello.
Welcome to the podcast.
Hello. Thank you. I'm glad to be here, Alex and Nathan. And I'm glad to be here with Lauren.
Thanks.
I am.
No, it's a pleasure. It is a pleasure.
It's wonderful.
Yeah.
We've been fans of this podcast for a while.
Oh, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
And,
I think we're really humbled by how many people say that to us all the time, but to have someone at Carl's stature say that, it just takes us to another level.
You're trying to say something?
No, not at all, mate. Not at all.
This
You're
is
reading
an
far.
audio podcast. No, that was a horn. Right, so let's.
You've got the what?
I've not got the horn yet. Oh. Although your voice, those tones,
Yeah.
It's
the
deep.
bass.
Is it
For those
really?
listening on a high quality sound system, they're going to get the full.
This is the
full-
real voice.
Yeah, you're going to get bass.
Okay. How low can you go?
Anyway, we've
We've got a lot of ground to cover.
Come on then.
Right, okay, so here to talk about people and how mastering people first will result in profit is probably the approach that we're going to go with here.
Okay.
But I want to start with asking Carl, where did this desire for people start? What was the origin story, mate? Because I have heard this story and I want everyone else to hear it.
Okay. All right. The origin story, goes back to 1986. And I don't want anyone around the table to then start shouting out, I wasn't born then, and all of that nonsense.
I wasn't.
Wouldn't dream of it.
No.
Were any of us?
Yeah, no.
Okay.
Well, I was.
So we've cleared that up.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
So back
Alex.
before we were born.
Before you were born, Alex, and we can send you back to that place. Okay, brother. Back before you were born, 1986, towards the end of the year, I joined a business, a company, a restaurant called McDonald's. Only because a friend of mine that I was at school with was there, and he said, you get really good hourly rates there. And we could earn the princely sum of £1.25 an hour, which is big money back then. Huge.
Big bucks.
And honestly, if you worked the whole week, you could probably, on the part-time basis that 16-year-olds do, you could probably earn close to £20 in a week, which is, huge sums.
Baller.
Back then. Yeah. I'm telling you, I was there. Thank you, Lauren.
It's all right.
So, joined McDonald's. I thought I was just going to be involved in a business that just makes burgers and it's just nothing. I didn't really think too much more than what I saw as a customer face value. Joined the business and found that there was an entire team of people that are massively focused on doing the very best that they can to produce these sandwiches that have all got the same quality taste for every single customer that buys them. So sandwiches, the fries, everything that they produce from the kitchen, they are obsessed with making sure that the food experience, the quality of the food is always the same. But also how to manage everybody within the operation in terms of making sure the equipment works all the time and so on and so forth. So joining that business, as you enter the business, you start off as this person with a green badge. Yeah, you're there as you've got
Trainee,
type thing. You're being inducted into the business, and you go through 3 or 4 weeks of them looking at you, you looking at them, and then they decide, right, okay, you've passed your probation, now you can actually have a job. Here's your yellow badge. And your yellow badge has got these 5 holes in. They're important. Remember them for the story, Alex, okay?
Okay.
Right. Those 5 holes are going to be filled in with stars. Each one of those stars represents you understanding an element of how that business works. And you've proved that you've understood it because other people have observed you doing this job. So when you're going to be taught on fries or whatever area of the business that these stars represent, you're going to be trained in that space, but then other people during the time after you've been trained, you get observed. There's a thing called an observation checklist that they periodically kind of fill in as they observe you doing whatever you're doing. You've got to hit a certain mark. If you don't, then there's a conversation. Yeah, it's not about them getting rid of you, but it's just about the fact of we need to make sure you're at this standard. And because you're super aware of this observation being done on you at all times, you do make that effort. So that's fine. Eventually you get all your 5 stars. And once you've got each of the stars, 5% increment goes on your wages. So you earn some more money. Okay?
Per star.
Per star. So that's 25 pence improvement right on your chest there. Okay, that you're letting everyone know. I earned myself an extra 25 pence an hour. You see? So, or thereabouts. I mean, it was always the manager's discretion on how much the increment would be. Sometimes it would only be 3 pence. And sometimes 5. Anyway, so it was the objective of the business to try and get everybody up to this 5-star standard super quick, yeah? So that then the business is then super confident with the fact of we've got people capable to work in every position of the business that are of a reasonable standard. Okay, that's fine. Where it became quite special in the store that I worked in a store on Bedford High Street, the town I come from. And that store just had these amazing people that worked there that were slightly older than me at the time. That went above. They took this. They took the ideals of managing high quality and reproducing high quality work or sandwiches or whatever it is that we were doing. They took it to another level. A group of them, and they took so much pride in what they were doing. It was incredible. Some of them, and McDonald's rewards those types of individuals by giving them a different identity. They call them training squad. So on the arm of a crew member, they get rid of the yellow badge, they change the yellow badge to a white badge, and then you have this badge on your arm called training squad, which really means this is the Delta Force of the business, okay? These are the high-performing people that can do anything. The SAS, okay? So one day I saw, going through my development journey, and I saw these guys, and it was like a moment out of Monsters, Inc. You know Monsters, Inc., where...
I know it well.
Right, where they're walking down to go and do their job, and they're walking in slow motion. I watched these guys, these training squad guys, come in to do their shift, and they were like that. And I was absolutely inspired by them because I saw them work, and you watch them work, and they're just absolutely brilliant at everything under pressure. The reason why they are so fantastic is because they can perform highly under pressure and don't miss a beat. Their quality is still on point at all times. It's phenomenal. So I wanted to become one of these people. It took me 2 years, so here I am, age 18 years old. I've managed to get training squad. I'm part of the Delta Force now.
Got the badge.
I got the badge and I got the thing on the arm.
Power Ranger.
And the chest is swollen up quite life. Yeah. So Bedford have a river festival. For about 4 months I've been training squad now. And we've got every other year we have this river festival in the town. River Festival is fantastic, huge event, over 1 million people come over the weekend. At one point it was the second largest outdoor event in the country, outside of Notting Hill Carnival. And when I mean outdoor event, a free outdoor event for people to attend, Bedford River Festival was the second largest. Anyway, so McDonald's is on the high street, right next to the river. So as you can imagine, in 1988, the entire world will come walking into the store. Okay. And we're set up for that. But the day before, so this is kind of the peaks and troughs of things. The day before the River Festival starts, I'm working night shift with a few people. My girlfriend at the time was working on a till. And now, one of the other ways that McDonald's, the entire McDonald's region, if you like, managed quality was to do mystery shops. And they plan these. You just get notified that a mystery shop will be happening at some point in the week. You don't know when. So this causes people to always stay on point and on top of their bits. We've come to the end of Friday. It's 11:15. The store closes at 11 o'clock in the evening. It's 11:15 in the evening. And a customer walks in. I didn't really see the customer. There's a pillar. I'm standing in the kitchen, ready to cook cleaning up the kitchen. There's a pillar in the way. And my girlfriend shouts out that she wants this food that we probably have sold now. Do you know what I mean? McNuggets, stuff that takes ages to cook. And this, in my head, this an idiot is now went and bought, this stuff that takes a long time to cook. And I've told her, I've shouted at her, can't you just persuade him to get something else? Right. I've worked a perfect shift, but I'm frustrated now because I want to shut the shift down and get ready for tomorrow, right? So can't you just get like this? And she's just staring at me. As to say, can't be. My voice carries, right?
No.
No, it does. And I still couldn't see the person. And I'm going, what's wrong with you? Just tell him. And she was just staring at me going, please, just be quiet. And I didn't. Anyway, I went and did the things. I started to prepare the stuff that the person ordered. And then what made it worse was I knew that we didn't have any milk at home. And McDonald's used to sell pint cartons of milk. And we needed milk for the tea and the breakfast in the morning. So I shout out, I'm going to mix some milk out of the fridge. Because we've got none at home and we need to. And she's just sat there thinking, I hate this man about me. And anyway, the guy that is on the till, he is the mystery shop. He is quite a senior supervisor.
No.
Yeah. He's really high up. Like, it's like
nicking milk and persuading other ways.
Right. Everything that you shouldn't do. He shouted at her and said, right, get the store manager, get the manager that's on shift down here now. So my mate Gary's come down and he's gone to talk to him. He's torn a strip off him. Get him out of the building, blah, 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 blah. And I'm sitting there thinking, what's happening? What have I done? Because normally I'm flawless. I'm really good normally, right? I had one little faux pas on this evening, at 1:45. So they've sent me home. But I've got this really important shift the next day to run at the busiest time and be on the most high demand area of the business. We call it regular grill. Anyway, so I go home, come back. There's a guy called Mark Jackson was the store manager. I go to Mark. I walk up to Mark and go, I've rehearsed this speech and I've gone, Mark, I'm really sorry about it. And he goes, Carl, just shut up. Go upstairs and get changed. But Mark, and he just shut me up again. Please, Carl, don't speak anymore. Everyone's here, all the senior supervisors, everyone's here. They want me to sack you. I'm not going to do it. But if you speak anymore, you're gone. Okay, my head went down. I'm sorry, Mark, I'm going to go upstairs and behave myself. So I went upstairs and I know now I have to be flawless. My training squad credentials are at risk. And I don't want to lose them.
No.
Yeah? So, but it's the most pressurising day. Mm-hmm. So here we are. Well, I come down, we start the shift, we work. What you need to know is that the whole cooking experience, there's somebody that coordinates all of the sandwiches or all the food that's supposed to be cooked based on the amount of people coming through the door. So they guess what needs to be prepared as that traffic comes in to try and keep up with demand, anticipated demand. Okay, so the anticipation is that, well, not the anticipation, there's like a shitload of people that just come flooding through the door. And the cooking cycle that we're on is at the fastest cooking cycle that we can legally do within a business. yeah? And we can't, this cooking cycle that we're doing between these different sandwiches is not fast enough to produce all the food for that demand of people coming in. And so we're panicking now because the food's disappearing. And if you lose what we call lose the bin, if you lose the bin and the bin ends up getting empty, you are absolutely buggered for hours and hours and hours and hours and hours because you can't catch up. However, technically on paper, there is another cooking cycle that technically you learn about, but you're not allowed to do because you lose quality and no one works fast. Nobody can work fast enough to keep up with it over a long period of time. So let's say an hour, 2 hours. So you're not allowed to actually practice this cooking cycle at all. But you'd have to learn about it theoretically, but you can't practice it. Me and Lenny, whose name's not really Lenny, his name's Paul, but he was a good-looking guy, and the girls used to call him Lenny Looks, so we call him Lenny. Anyway, me and Lenny were on cooking these sandwiches. We were doing this, and we can see that we've got a problem. And I've tapped Lenny. I go, Len, go and tell Mark that we have to do the legal thing that we're not supposed to do with all the big people here because we're going to lose the bin. And he swears at me and goes, I'm not telling him shit. I'm not going to say any of that. And I said, we're going to get in trouble soon, and then they're all going to blame us. And I'm worried about the fact that they're just going to blame me because of this thing that I did the night before and everything else. And so he said, you tell him. So I've walked up to Mark, and I've gone, Mark, can Paul and I do the illegal thing? And he's just looked at me and gone, you what? I said, you are in trouble. Yeah, the whole thing's in trouble. We're going to lose the bin. I plead with him, with my little 18-year-old self, let us do it. Trust me, I won't let you down. He's looked at me, bless him, for all of what he was. He was a wonderful manager. He turns around to me and goes, all right then, but don't fuck it up, right? So I turn around. I'm excited now because no one's ever seen me and Lenny work like this before, but I know we can do it. I've turned around, I'll shout out, Len, we're on. The hats turn around. We turn these caps around and we walk up to the grill. We pull out our spatulas. Sing! The next thing you know, it sounds like samurai swords fighting in the kitchen. But we re-coordinate everybody, and now we're cooking. The fastest cooking cycle that you can legally do produces food within, I don't know, it's up to about 2 minutes. So a tray of food every 2 minutes turns up. This new cooking cycle that we're going to do, it produces a tray of food in just under 1 minute. But you have to understand how to coordinate that. So Lenny and I were able to do it. We sustained it for like an hour and a half. And we kept going in and out of this fast cooking cycle and then this slower thing. We did it all. This is the kind of the end of it. But we did it all. All of those senior managers that would have been absolutely furious on other occasions that we've done it, just sat there with their mouths open watching us do it. And everything was perfect. The quality was absolutely fantastic. And they just went, we've never seen anything like that at all. That was incredible. What I attribute that to was people like me, Lenny, and all of this team that were there were motivated to work to such a high standard under pressure with speed, yeah, and not drop the ball. I know that's replicable in all sorts of other areas, especially in this automotive world. I absolutely firmly believe it. And, I'm here, as this presence now as a consultant and stuff to help people realise that, achieve it, through their leadership, inspire stuff, through their great people, and you've got to have some really rising stars, shining people in the business. They're the ones that have to develop those others into their place of excellence that, is really important. I know. So that's the story.
It's really interesting because as we've scaled up the business, we've seen staff that perform really well under pressure. And then there's some staff that don't perform well under pressure. But the standout for us is when staff perform consistently when no one's looking, as opposed to staff that you shine a light on them and they're this brilliant, high-performing person. Mm-hmm. But if you're not there, you're not always praising, you're not sort of on some sort of performance management, they can slip back. And that is a real challenge to try and keep that level of consistency up, especially with us being multi-location. It's fragmented even further. It's quite hard to keep on top of.
Right.
But yeah, our most successful branches, you have those people who will perform no matter what. They'll do the right thing no matter what.
Right.
You know,
right,
and that's I don't really know how you get to that point. It's certainly not felt really intentional from us.
Okay.
It's just some people are naturally like that, aren't they? And some people aren't, I guess.
I'd say so. I'd say some, but you've got to capitalise on that. You've got to capitalise on those naturally occurring situations, and then create it as that there's a peer-to-peer type relationship going on.
Yeah.
As we had in McDonald's, it wasn't driven. A lot of this stuff that we pushed for wasn't driven by management. They just wanted us to get to a certain standard and be okay with that. It was the team, the way that certain people worked and their impression on others, and how that just spread out amongst us all. Eventually, it got to that place where we just wanted to be better. I've seen that and I've had that experience in other jobs. So I'm saying to you, Alex, that if your business notices that you've got that kind of human capital, it's about, okay, how do we figure out how they can infect everyone else with their level of good? How can they really make an impression on everyone so that people can form new identities about themselves as they see themselves come to work and they believe something professional about themselves, which is, superior, so that they can all become their own version.
Get the badge.
We've just had it's actually now we're talking about it. We've just had an instance recently where we moved a staff member from one branch to another branch. It happens quite frequently, but this branch that he moved to, there's various other things happening as well. So it's not the sole reason, but that the branch saw a significant increase in performance. Yep. And one of the things that we put it down to was the quality of vehicle inspection. Mm-hmm. Now, this technician has a lot of pride in vehicle inspection and understands on the output of the vehicle inspection, the technician ends up with more of the right type of work, which ends up with more labour, and in our case, they're bonused on that. So there's a lot of what's in it for him, but he managed to inspire the people around him to also do a better job. And he actually did a better job than us as a company on explaining to the technicians why we're doing this. So what we've actually done since then is he now goes around with the area manager to the other branches to show them how he does inspections.
Brilliant.
So it's his peer-to-peer thing. It's not us saying, this is how we want you to do it. It's someone else saying, this is how I do it. And these are the results on the outside of it. And it's worked really well.
Becomes inspiring, doesn't it, for the other guys to sort of go, right, this is the level that could be achieved.
Right. Yeah. And you see it doing in work in practice. Everyone, it's irrefutable. Because they see this person that's come up the same way in the same, through the same channels as they can and they have, and this person just does it in this way that creates all of this other effect. So we release, you've done absolutely the right thing, but the idea is how do we replicate that in all of the
all areas,
so that then it becomes infectious, and then everybody just wants to try and aspire to this new level of excellence.
On the Ramp is very proudly sponsored by Castrol and the race group from Certus Energy. Our own business, Lindley's Auto Centres, has been using Castrol products via the race group for at least 10 years. We get our own account manager. They help us set up the oil portfolios across the branches. And there's also someone to ring if we've got any technical queries or general queries. And having that relationship with the account manager, I think, is really important. We get dual branded workwear. So just like what I'm wearing now, we get this free for all members of staff. We get to use the Castrol brand across our entire business, so things like building signage, websites, general marketing, etc. And working with a globally recognised brand like Castrol, I believe, can really elevate your own brand. There's a rewards platform, so for every purchase, we accumulate points that we can redeem against certain items on this reward platform, which is pretty cool. And then there's an integration via our garage management software that allows us to actually see the exact oil product code that should be used in that vehicle, which in today's world and the complexities of oil is actually really helpful. So if you want to learn more about how Castrol can help elevate your business and you want to learn more about how the race group can help you, then please click on the link in the description below. Thank you. On the topic of infectious, on the flip side then, have you seen it where you have that team member, because there'll be people listening to this now where they have a team member who's a bit of a black hole within the team.
Yep.
And whether that's down to the company or it's just that person's natural demeanour is to be a negative person, that's equally as infectious, right? I guess.
Yeah. That also has
And
effects.
that can ruin a team.
It can do, absolutely. It can do. I'm not calling anybody this, but this is the adage of rotten apple in a barrel, right? So, if we're in close proximity to somebody that's a high performer, we get infected and impacted by that. If we're in close proximity to somebody that's not a high performer and they're the inverse of that, then yes, it can drag people down. But it has the negativity actually has, and that's spreading super quick.
What do you make of high performing negative people? Because you get caught in this industry because a technician is
so good,
such a high in demand product at the minute. They're hard to come by, especially good ones. But if they're pumping out the numbers, but they've got a negative effect on the culture of the business, where do you sit with those people?
Well, you've got to make a principle choice. You've got to make a moral choice. You've got to make a values choice. Is the culture of your business more important than one individual? Because this one individual, if you keep them, will cause you to lose so much more of your business. Great that you've got someone that can score lots of goals for you, but they upset everybody else. I'd rather find someone that's okay, that I can turn into someone good, that absolutely does not cause all of these other issues. The business has to be confident about being able to turn someone from they're okay to they can become absolutely excellent. Then you're not going to be reliant on someone bringing all of that high quality and to the table. And then delivering that high quality, but at the detriment of culture. You can't have someone cause detrimental effects to culture. What you need is an understanding of how do I make someone fantastic from ground zero?
Yeah.
What's the training and development trajectory? What are the different bits and pieces? How are we going to mark and monitor that, and so on and so forth? And if you're confident in that strategy, like McDonald's was confident in their strategy, no one person is then indispensable.
So are they with McDonald's quite on it with the personal attributes of the person?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, and that became more and more important the more established the person comes. So being picked for management or being picked for training squad is all about your attributes. It's all about your character. There's lots of people that got the 5-star yellow badge, if you like, but they wouldn't move beyond there because of certain characteristics. Only people such as myself
join the Delta Force.
Join the Delta Force because we could teach others.
Even though you stole milk and you didn't want to cook chicken.
It was a blip. It was a blip.
It was a blip.
Hey, listen,
it was a moment in time.
Yeah. It's quarter to 11.
A little 12. Then very next day made up for it with a level of excellence that most people would just like, I've never seen that before. So yeah.
Did you take the milk?
Yes, of course. You got to remember, this is 1988, right? So what you kids are used to, shops being open 24/7, blah, 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 blah. None of that was there.
So you had to steal the milk?
Yes.
Needed it.
It's necessary.
The need, not want.
It's got to have his Weetabix, hasn't he?
Yeah.
Or the porridge.
But he had to set himself up for the next day.
I did. It was a hard day the next day.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Wouldn't have performed like that without it.
Oh, the bin would have been lost.
I love that they call it the bin as well.
Yeah.
I find that hilarious. I think a bit on talking about people and when they're not right for the business maybe as well comes back a lot to the business owner and their own vision and values and how they perceive what good looks like, because it's different for everybody. And it may be that we've employed somebody into the role that absolutely thrives and they're a really, really good technician, but they've not got any persona and personality to be able to then gel within the team. And it's the why they feel they can't do that, why we're not allowing them to be able to have their moment to gel in. And I think it's always a bigger picture when somebody is negative, toxic, any of those things, the reason why they've got to that stage and where the issues sit further down the line is probably more so how included that they've been made to feel straight away.
Yeah,
you're absolutely bang on, but it's so difficult for someone to have the awareness, the self-awareness that it might not just be that person. There might be something going on with that person, or there could be circumstances. It could even be the business owner's fault.
Yeah,
that's happening.
Yeah.
But it's the business owner's accountability to deal with it, and whether you like it or not as a business owner these days, you have to assume accountability for all of it.
But it's so difficult, isn't it? Because how do you get to that point where there'll be people, I guarantee someone's listening right now and they can think about that team member that's toxic and they'd rather them not be there.
They would do.
And they're stuck in this position. How did it get to that point?
I feel they have to keep them on because of what they bring them, but at the detriment of other people's happiness is probably more of
there's infinite variables in there. Yeah, there's infinite variables, and I think the way it comes down to is your framework and your blind spots are probably the two things that I would say. Like, what are your blind spots and how's your framework? How's your framework for people coming into the business, and what's your framework for talking to people and communicating across the business?
But that's really it's got to be brave. It's really difficult.
Yeah,
it doesn't, and I don't think it gets much easier, really.
I think with support, it can be spending time around the right people that help you see blind spots. I know me and you speak all the time, and we'll tell each other when we think we're out of line, in line. We're not scared to do that. I think it's quite an insular game when you're not spending time around anyone else. Yeah,
it's good that you'll do that. I heard this thing that basically you are, as a person, 5% as an average. The five people that you spend the most amount of time with, you are the percentage of that 5%, and that makes you who you are. So the people that you're spending the most time with, it could be family members, work, and it's most likely people at work. You are a huge percentage of that.
Complete average of that. Yeah.
You're the total, and it's who you're surrounding yourself with. So when we've employed somebody and you've only got a team of 5, and 4 of them are great and one of them's really not gelling and doing so well,
they'll rise quite quick to the standard. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but it's taking that practical step, isn't it?
And again, you're so hard. You chuck in cars which are notoriously non-compliant in whatever you want them to do. They don't do what they do, which adds then a completely new dimension of stress, time,
frustration.
Time. It just condenses everything, and it can just throw things into panic situations. But you've got to have the toolkit around you to be able to sort of deal with those things.
I like what you're saying, and I hear what you're saying, Alex. We do need a toolkit, and it is hard. The challenge I tend to give people when we start talking, business owners, when we start talking about people and that difficulty in finding that right person, or how we manage those people that perhaps produce good work but at the detriment of culture, right? I ask a question of, if we were to do it all again, how do you recruit? Yeah, and typically people look at skill over anything else. They don't look at character. They don't know how to assess character. They don't ask questions in an interview about what the person's internals are like. What's your DNA? Yeah. What do you value? How do you perform under stress? What's important to you when you're working with a team, collaborating? The skill part can either the person has the skill or they don't, but we know skill can be trained, right? That's an easy thing to adjust. People's characters and people's attitudes are the difficult thing. And the problem that most businesses have, especially small businesses, is that they've never, ever investigated the attitude of the person properly before they started to recruit them. And then once they've recruited that person and they've spent 6 months, 9 months, a year in the business, the attitudes of the thing that's come to the surface that's causing the problem. But they've been so focused on skill, the skill helped the person pass their probation, and it helped put profitability in place. But no one saw, and they were blindsided by the fact that attitude now comes in and disrupts everything. And that stops the productivity of others. So yes, you've got this one person that's high performing, but now look at everybody else low performing because you've kept that in place. Yeah,
I've certainly been guilty of that in the past. I've made their character fit my narrative while talking to them. It's like, this is the person that I want. You're saying all the things that I want you to say.
But as a business owner, pretty much top of the tree is profit and money, because none of it exists without any of that. So when you do have someone pumping out the figures who's a bit against the culture and causing an issue in the team, you're torn, aren't you? It's so difficult to make that decision.
But if one rises and others drop, then...
Well, that's the thing.
But it's easy to not see that.
Yeah,
it's just easy to look at the headline figure, isn't it?
Right. But that's the thing. That's the skill. That's where the consultancy comes in. It's like, well, don't just look at that. Don't be silly and biased and just look at this one thing, narrow-minded, yeah? Let's look at the entire business. Could all of this business be performing better in all areas? Yes or no? And if the answer's no, it's not because of this one element, that seems to be high performing, but the cost of them being capable of high performing is that they cause all of this underperformance elsewhere. There's an obvious business decision to make. We either change that person and dial up the attributes that we want.
Intervention.
Yeah. Or we make a change with the confidence of, right, we get rid of this person that is high performing in this one area, bring in someone else that's definitely got the attributes and character that we want, and then invest in them becoming better skills wise. That's it.
What would you say to a garage owner today that has had someone who is a decent performer, whose attitude has recently taken a negative turn?
Find out why. Find out why. Don't look to get rid. The attitude would have changed because of a personal circumstance that they're not aware of.
So what would that look like practically for that? What would you suggest that they would do?
So what would the behaviour of the business owner be?
What would the business owner do in that situation?
Right. Firstly, the business owner needs to probably talk to someone external to say what they suspect is happening, to then get some support, advice and guidance on how to approach this, because they need to have a delicate touch. Yeah. The way that you approach a person now that's in some sort of distress that's not declared is super important, especially, and we see that when we see the figures to do with poor mental health and everything else in the workplace and well-being, being in the toilet where it is. So our approach and our tact is super important. So, speak to someone outside and go, I think there's an issue here. I might need help either talking to them or help me just understand how to approach this person, so that then you can hold space with them properly. And this is all about authentic connection now. You can't just be their boss and have a boss to employee conversation. This is you matter to me because I'm in a relationship with you. Yeah. And I need to talk to you about you because I can see something's not right and it matters to me that you're okay. You spend a lot of your time here with us in this business. And what I want to do is make sure that time's happy. Is there anything that's happening here in the business that I can change that will make it happier? If it's external, what can you make me aware of that you're comfortable making me aware of? And I might be able to make a reasonable adjustment in the business. But what matters is that you're not suffering in silence and you can't talk. I need to know because you matter to me. And approach it in that, be confident enough and vulnerable enough to be able to talk to that person in that way. They might not pour out to you straight away, but the moment that they know you care about them and they matter to you, that's going to start to unlock that.
Yeah, they might have found you really unapproachable for whatever reason, and having that talk and taking them to one side and being human with them again, rather than just being like, come on, we've got these amounts of jobs in today, let's go, and actually taking them out of that environment and just saying, look, come on, I'm here, well, let's chat. That will probably mean everything to somebody from a human level. Okay, my boss now actually is approachable and does care about me. How often do we take employees out other than a one-to-one and say, how are we doing, what the stats looking like? How often do we just actually check in and go, how are you, all good? It's a rare thing, especially in our industry, to actually talk.
Yeah.
But it's how you do that. It's important to do it and say those words, but the tenor and tone in which you say those words. Yeah. Because it's got to feel real to them. They've got to believe they really do matter. This isn't just some conversation because you're inconvenienced by their underperformance and you're curious to know what it is. It has to feel like, and be, honestly, authentically be, it matters to me that you're not okay.
Yeah.
I know you were before, and is there anything I can do that will help it feel a bit better for you whilst you're here?
And on the opposite side, because we do have technicians listening to this podcast or service advisors, what if they were once happy and now they're not? Is there any onus on them? Because no one's perfect. Business owners aren't perfect. Managers aren't perfect. It's all very difficult to do, and people get it wrong. So is there any onus on the staff member for them to live a happier work life to also approach?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. Go on. Did you want to?
I think absolutely. I think if you're the person that sat with that feeling, it's for you to address why. And when you understand why you're feeling that way, and it might be that you've kind of like gone through the trenches a bit and you're just really demotivated, I'm not feeling it anymore. But you haven't really like sat with that thought and thought, why is that? you're just as responsible for that negative energy that's being allowed to carry on because you're not dealing with it. The minute that you think, okay, actually I've had enough because I'm under too much pressure, or I'm not given enough time, or it might be that a break isn't enough and you don't feel that you get enough time during the day to actually respond to an email, or it could be silly things, and then as a result of the time that's taken away, you feel like you haven't left work and you've not achieved anything, because we're all busy doing everything. But do we all leave at the end of the day and feel like we've achieved what we set out to do? And sometimes the answer is no, and we haven't done that. And that has a real impact on an employee, a person that's kind of like, I don't feel I've done anything today. I've been busy, but I don't think I've actually done anything. And it's for that person to then go, okay, so today I didn't achieve anything, but tomorrow's a new day. And tomorrow I'm going to structure my day differently, and I'm going to make my team aware that actually I really struggled yesterday. It was a tough one. I had X, Y, and Z I wanted to do, and I haven't found time to do it because of, the phone rings, everything happens, customers come in, anything can be going on. If your team are then aware that you felt yesterday was tough, they're more likely to say, we'll grab that call for you, or we'll help out here, because people want to help people, right?
I think there's a couple of things. I think problems compound with people and their lack of external reflection, whether they're talking, diarising, whatever they would do, to be able to sort of let go of the last amount of problems which did compound, become more and more compounded over days, and then there's a snap. Yeah. And it's the straw that broke the camel's back, and then it just leads to this sort of like vicious negative cycle.
You're demotivated. And
yeah. And it'd be great to sort of have a space where people will reflect openly with each other and tell each other how they felt about each other's performance and my own performance.
Yeah. 100%. Don't forget, there's different ways to hear the voice of the employee, right? You can hear them directly through channels, right? Through situations, they come to you directly as business leaders and business owners and stuff, or they might say it in performance reviews. That's the direct way you hear the employee's voice. The indirect way is through the culture. An individual will come to work and share that personal story with somebody in that business. So the information that you need to know is found in this indirect sense. But what you're aiming for as a business owner is to say to everybody, if you notice someone to the left and right of you is struggling and they've come to you with a struggle, we want you to know, and they're unable to come to us directly, you can be that ambassador for that person and bring that and voice that to us, so that we know to take steps towards them, as opposed to expecting them to take steps towards us. Yeah. So now all of a sudden we're in this sense or this culture of, I'm my brother's keeper. Yeah, we're better at looking. Yeah. We're better at looking after others than we are looking after ourselves sometimes, and we sometimes can advocate for others better than we can advocate for ourselves. But if you create a culture within your business, that's the mindset. This is not telling tales. This is all about how can we best look after each other. Yeah. Then we're going to get good results there.
It's living your values, isn't it? For sure. Like
right.
I think it's something that when you are recruiting for people and you're taking new people on, how much as a business owner do you really push your own values, and how often in your day-to-day do you stop and think every action you're doing, does it relate to your values? It's hard. It's not a constant thing in our minds that we think, is this what we set out to do? Because you get busy. But I think it's when you have your, you've got your team and those are your people, and without your people you've got nothing, because they are your cogs that are making everything else work within the business. How much do they believe in the values, and how much do they come to work and they think, it's really important to me that we do really well here for whatever reason it may be. And something that I've kind of had passed down to me is the golden thread. Right. So it starts at the top with you guys, and you've got a really strong set of vision, values, and how are you then feeding that down, and what are you doing that makes that golden thread run right the way down to the new starter, the apprentice, but because they have to have as much vision and value as you do. And they have to feel as like you did at McDonald's. You have to feel like those 5 holes, I need to fill those because it's not the 25p, that's irrelevant. It's the fact that I've shown that I'm credible to do this.
It's almost gamification, isn't it? Yeah. Really, they've gamified it. I love exactly that. I also like the idea of trying to get my team, and I'm toying with that idea, and I was going to run it by you and talk about try and get the whole business to be able to pitch their role and their part of the business and where what they're trying to contribute towards. I think that's really important to get the team completely aligned from a foundational level. It's like, who are they and what's their role and what are we setting out to achieve as a business, and being able to sort of like pitch that off the cuff. And that then just becomes this subconscious undertone that when your brother's keeper, somebody can just put their arm around them and just go, what are we doing here? Then they can just revert back to that, and that doesn't require their boss to tell them, come on, let's try and motivate you. I think that's really important to work on everyone's pitch within the business so they know what they're a part of. And like the game with McDonald's is to fill them holes and become...
We understood. We understood that, yes, you could see this as just... And the outside world just calls McDonald's employees... You know, there was always this sort of social joke of, oh, well, you just work at McDonald's. But us that worked within it were able to go, this is so valuable to us. And the community that was built, that kept each other sharp. And, you know, I use another phrase, iron sharpens iron, right? So there's this good people kept those that were willing to become good and at the early stages of becoming excellent or good. They kept them sharp, and then because of our presence, we kept these others that were previously sharp as well. And it was just this positive feedback.
It's interesting about McDonald's because we've had someone else on the podcast who shared a very positive story about McDonald's, and it's not an uncommon story.
No.
Even with the external stigma of working at McDonald's, which is ridiculous, but it is a thing.
Right.
People's experience tends to be a real positive one, and actually those that go on to succeed in business, they attribute a lot to the learnings from it.
Absolutely.
So if it can be done in McDonald's, I know it's a more controllable environment, but
well, I've done it. I mean, I left McDonald's probably in 1989, 1990. You know, finished all my part-time bits and pieces, and did my further education, and then started to go and try and forge my career in other places. There were the places that I thrived and really did well. One particular organisation in 1999 was an organisation called the Associated Press. The Associated Press is the biggest news agency in the world. 9/11, when 9/11 happened, the news and media went mad, obviously, and we were distributing so much information around the world. I worked in communications, so me and a small team of people were responsible for keeping the wide area network up, running and alive everywhere. To be able to do the work in this space, you had to become good. My same motivation of learning everything about that job, so because it was multifaceted, different ways of getting.
It's a butty van, as they call it up here.
What do you call it?
Sandwich van.
Cob?
Yes. The way that you're looking at me now, I feel like I should say yes.
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 Correct.
It's a Cob. It's a Cob van.
Mm-hmm.
Never heard of a Cob. Is that like?
No, don't. Lauren,
You've never heard of?
Lauren. It's called Cob.
All right.
And you might call it a roll.
It's a mobile cafe. Yeah. That's what it is.
Okay.
Don't. You need to read the room.
And we called a burger a sandwich earlier, so.
Yeah, I thought that as well. I thought this is very posh sounding, calling it a sandwich.
Oh, he's got the
striped up.
It's the internal parlance.
Okay, sandwich.
What was I saying?
I don't know. I've just thought of Cobs now.
You were talking about the desire to learn about everything within the role.
Right. So Associated Press had various different connection. I can't remember the term for it now, but either it was satellite information, it was digital line information, it was lease line information, loads and loads and loads of different data entry points, and we had to look after all of it. I used the way that I developed myself in McDonald's in terms of just this incrementally get good at this, then get good at this, then get good at this, then get good at this thing, happened here at AP. That took me from this controller's role into, within 2 years, I was the first person to do it for them. I went then straight into management after 2 years. There were guys that had been in the same role as me, and they'd been in those roles for 10, 12 years. But because of this level, this drive that I had and everything else, which was completely transferable from McDonald's, it put me in this position with Associated Press where I impacted on my work and others and helped others rise with me, so much so that they put me in this position of management, which then led to me having a responsibility, just to say real quick, when the Iraq war started, there was news coming out of Qatar, Doha in Qatar, where that was called Central Command. Yours truly, sitting with you around the desk there, was responsible for all the comms that was coming out of Qatar on the ground. I was based out there for 2 months.
To get in that position to accelerate yourself through that business, was there much managing upwards?
Yeah, loads.
Because I think that is quite underestimated. Again, if the people who are listening to this aren't the business owner, they work within the business, you having that great relationship with your manager and being seen to be the one who's helping others and with the right, it's not always noticed, but it normally is noticed. And as a business owner, you could probably think now, the people who have got you back, or as a manager, which staff have got you back. And there are routes within business to progress through business, but you've got to have that right positive attitude, haven't you? And
yes, well, you've got to be positive, assertive, and you've got to have a set of values. Sometimes that means that you'll ruffle feathers. Sometimes you have to stand up to the authority and go, you can't do that. And that's a risk, because then you could be seen in a detrimental light. But you've got to believe in the bigger purpose of whatever it is that you're going to discuss. This will elicit respect back from these people if they hear you correctly, if you've got to be able to communicate that well, and sometimes you might not, and then that could be a detrimental effect. But it's not just about being a people pleaser at a high level. This is all about saying, here's what I see and believe. The best way, we'll iconicize it in something that all of us can relate to. The best way to understand it, and I'll make a Marvel universe reference right now, the best way to understand it is how Captain America stood against the US government. He was everything to do with the US originally, wasn't he? When we watched the movie. But these are the people that were wrong, and he was able to be a voice and go, I'm not going to follow you now. You're wrong. I'm going to stand up against all that, and I'll have whoever believes what I believe. And he follows this set of values. So the persons that you're talking about, Alex, when they're managing up, have to be built on those. Well, hopefully, they will anchor themselves on those sets of values. So
and I guess a phrase that they're probably familiar with is "Don't be a yes man all the time."
Can't be.
Either.
No. Can't be. Don't be a yes man just to please people. Yes, if it's right. But if there's another way better, then communicate that other way better. You're the person on the ground, lean into that, be confident about it. Yes, you're getting instructions from someone else on high, but you're the person with a particular perspective on the ground, and challenge that back.
I've got a question. As a leader of a business, and in this case, a garage business, and the leader is normally the owner. So let's just say it's the owner of the business. They are the leader of the business. What responsibility do they have to be unwavering, or is a leader someone that can open up and be a bit vulnerable, or do you think it's because you've got to be the sort of person that people want to work for, people feel secure around, people follow? That's by definition is a leader, isn't it? And I think that it can be quite easy to not always behave correctly. Frustrations come out. You can, let's say you're having a bad day, you can let everyone else know you're having a bad day, or you can contain it. How important, I guess what I'm asking is, as a leader, is it your duty to make sure that you are unwavering and you are that person, or is there a middle ground?
You aspire to be that person. There's a journey there, and it's a practice. And that, like any other practice, there's ebbs and flows. It's who do you rely on that helps hold a mirror up to you so that you can be that person, whose voices can you hear out external to the business that helps you understand where you are and where you're not going. How reflective are you prepared to be to tell the truth to another person that may not have seen your behaviour in the first place, because you've got a level of emotional intelligence that says, I don't have a particularly good day today. Let me just tell someone from my perspective of anger, even if it's that I'm pissed off and it just happened, they did all of this. But hopefully the person you're telling the story to asks you questions in a different way. Did they do that deliberately? this, that, and that, and ask you to broaden your thinking and think about certain things.
Yeah.
But in keeping with answering to your question more tightly, Alex, is yes, you've got to aim to be that person. You've got to accept you're not going to be that person on a daily basis. Sometimes when you're not that person and it has had detrimental effects on others, you've got to then stand up in front of them and go, I didn't do right by you, and I'm sorry. Yeah, and be vulnerable on certain moments. On other occasions, that's private. Yeah, sometimes you need if there's personality clashes between other senior people or people within your business that you know is there, and you're contributing to it as well, and you're not liking someone and someone's not liking you. Because of the values and because of your position, you're responsible for bringing that person in the room and going, I know we're struggling and we need to figure out this because we want you here. Everyone enjoys you here. I'd like the opportunity to enjoy you, and I'd like you to see me differently as well. Can you help me figure that out? That's a really brave thing to do.
But I feel like that's one of the hardest parts of running a business is having the ability to have that conversation.
Right.
Because you know when something's off, but it's so easy to avoid it, isn't it? It's so easy not to address it.
It's much easier to avoid than it is to address in the short term, but the long term detriment to it is
big. Can be huge.
Take the emotion out of
it can take the business. It can take the business apart. But like Carl's saying, it's like having somebody there that when you're on your worst day, before you approach everyone in whatever manner you decide to, it's venting with someone that can deconstruct that conversation for what it is, rather than hear your pushed narrative, because that's usually what it is, isn't it? You're pushing a narrative in regards to how you've preconceived it. That's how it is. This is why it's gone this way, and I'm going to shout at someone.
But the trick is that's all good when you're sort of debriefing at the end of the day with your mate on the phone driving home, but in the heat of the day,
the knee-jerk response is everything. But
and it's would you work for you? Like if you do you know what I mean? It's like if you know people in the industry, or you know people that you look and you'd think, oh, I'd almost rather work for them than work for me. When it comes to recruitment, that again is such a challenge. If you can't inspire the person, because a job interview these days is a two-way, absolutely a two-way interview. And if you can't be the leader for the person who you're trying to recruit, they will just see straight through that, and they'll see your personality. I've had a conversation with someone who, nothing but respect for them, but they're a bit of a down and out person. It's always a negative feeling to the conversation. And I literally said to him, I wouldn't work for you. You're struggling to recruit, but you draw energy away from me. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like it's the whole term leadership, I think, is a really important thing, and it does make retention, recruitment, dealing with situations, everything just becomes a bit easier if you do focus on those leadership attributes. But where do you learn that? You know, you may have never worked under someone good. It might be the reason why you started up on your own, because you didn't like who you were working with, and you've never experienced what good leadership is like. And in our industry, that's a common route to opening a business.
It's a common route, but I don't think that supplies enough vision to the rest of the people you're trying to attract into the company. So you start because you've been under previous bad management. It's like that's not necessarily going to be enough vision for people to climb onto that. And
you're potentially going to start toxic as well, because you're going to carry that, like, I don't want to be like this, and fixate on the things you don't want to be
and
like.
This is like classic parenting, isn't it? It's like your parents give you what they didn't get when they were kids, because that's what my parents have done. They give me absolutely everything that they didn't get when they were kids, and I love them dearly for that.
But how do you know what a good leader is if you've never worked under a good leader?
I think it's the feeling that you get from somebody. If you ask yourself, as a leader, why would I work for myself? What attributes do I have as a new employee coming in? What makes me somebody that they're going to want to work for? And ask yourself that question and write it down. And if you're struggling to find that, then
it's good exercise, isn't it?
Then what are you doing? And I think that's the thing. Then what's the vision here, and where's the values that have gone? Because if you can be really brutal with yourself and ask yourself that question, and you can come up with pages of stuff. I don't think that's something to think of, God, I really back myself, I think that's like, hats off. Like, that's a really good thing. If you can see that positivity in yourself, like, you know, I'm going to absolutely encourage people to have flexible working, come talk to me. All of these things, like, the door's always open. All of these things are important things. And it's another thing with recruitment as well. Don't see recruitment as, I need to go and market, you know, a job on the jobs board. I'm marketing. When I'm asking for a job, I'm marketing. and I'm selling myself as much to the person that sat opposite me as they're trying to sell themselves to me, because I want them to work for me, but I need to let them know why. And if I can share the reasons
100%.
why I'm a good person
100%.
to work for, then they're going to be waiting at the end of the phone like, please phone me, like, give me the job.
I guarantee people are listening to this, and if this is you've interviewed somebody and the interview's gone well and they've turned the job down, or they've accepted the job and then not turned up.
Yeah.
It's happened to everybody.
Yeah, happened to me.
And there's somewhere in that could be they've decided that they don't want to work for you.
Yeah.
Or, and it's just something to consider. That I think that owning a business owner, manager and leadership, they're all different. They are all different things. You can manage a business and you can own a business, but are you leading the business? And they don't always have to be the same person either.
No, they don't. Leadership is a set of behaviours. It's not a title. You can have it as a title, but leadership is a set of behaviours. So leaders can be those guys like me, training squad. I wasn't a manager, but I led an entire team of people, especially at a critical moment. But with the authorization of management. See the difference, right? So create leaders, absolutely, in and amongst all your people. But then leaders with titles, I think sometimes, I like the idea of the thing called servant leadership. So the bigger your title, the more you serve. Yeah, as opposed to the bigger your title, the more you sit above. The bigger your title, the more work you do at the ground level, right, to help rise everybody. That's important. Whilst most people may not have, and people listening to this may not have had a great experience of having a good leader, that doesn't mean that they haven't had the opportunity to observe good leadership. So they would have seen it within their spheres of influence, and they would have heard stories of good leadership elsewhere, number one. And that's contrary to whatever they experience. So there are examples out there. They may have come across good leadership in other situations of their life. One of the examples I do when I'm running a training session and things, and when we talk about creating positive cultures and whatever, because that's a top-down thing. When you want a positive culture in the workplace, it's only that cascades down. Yes, people can do it from the bottom up, but if the people higher up aren't invested in it, it just stops somewhere, and then there's conflict. So it has to be top-down. We'll trickle down. I turn around, I give people an image, and I go, right, okay, so you've never come across great leaders or anything. No. Okay. When you were at school, did you have someone of significance in your life whilst you were at school? PE teacher, supply teacher, whoever. Have you got a teacher in mind that was just wonderful? They saw you for the person that you were, and for the period of time that they had influence and impact on you, they were able to reach you and talk to you. Can you think of a person that was so impactful on you just for that brief moment that you just think they were amazing and you still remember them to this day? I ask people that question.
I have
that.
You've got a person straight in your mind?
Yeah.
Exactly them?
Yeah.
That's the leader you're supposed to be. That's the leader you're supposed to be. Straight away. Aim to be as good as them. Unless you cause people to feel like you're just remembering now, unless you're causing people to feel that way in your current position of leadership, you're not doing a good enough job. That's my challenge to you. Because that person was doing a good enough job to make you feel that way and remember it decades later and still value it. That's the role of a leader. That's where we're aspiring to. Yeah.
And I think it's kind of on a similar point with the whole teacher thing as well, because that you did develop under your teachers, didn't you? That's the whole point of going to school. If you are, again, business manager and you're looking at your current team and you're not necessarily happy with how the business is performing, there might be down the line, that might be the perfect team, but those people have to develop. And if you, if you want evidence of that, look at your team now, and I can guarantee you've got high performing people within the team that weren't always high performing. So it is equally your responsibility to upskill.
100.
Permanently upskill these
100.
people. And again, with one of the questions I've got here is the importance of progression for people. Like if they're in a finite role where this is end of some people like that, but high performers, there's always got to be something else, hasn't there? There's always got to be a bit of progression.
There's a game, isn't there? There's a game to be played, and as long as you're providing an opportunity where they can continue to progress at the rate that is satisfactory for both parties, or there's a place where they can provide absolute excellence. Because this is what I try and do, and I'll use Gav as my example, is I always try and give him something that he's always got something to chase. We got something to chase. You just always... There's always...
But it's cliche, isn't it? But you always want to be better. Like it could be the smallest lesson, or you have that week where something fundamentally changes and you improve. People come to work not just to get paid. It is a journey, isn't it? It is an improvement. And we've got people who joined us as an apprentice who are now managers or area managers. It's like we've got the full range of stories. But if you're looking at your team now that's not performing, what are you doing about
that,
bringing them up?
And I want people to also understand that progression and development isn't just a vertical plane, it's horizontal as well. There are some people that are quite happy to stay at a certain level, right? But they want more breadth. They want wider experiences. That's where they want to be challenged, to play the game in a slightly different position, but still play it at the level that they played it at. Yeah, that's important as well. And sometimes business leaders lose the understanding of that, or don't even have that in their line of sight. They just think progression means vertical, and progression might not mean that. A movie that comes to mind, I think in movies, so forgive me. I think in films all the time.
Is it another Marvel one?
No.
Oh.
I
like Marvel. It's fine. I was trying to predict which.
Well, you'd like what I'm going to come out with if you just give me a chance, Alex.
Pretty Woman.
Because you've got the blue eyes. And the beard like Julia Roberts.
It's a modern world.
Right? Maverick. Top Gun Maverick. Yeah. There was a statement in there saying that you're supposed to be a 2-star admiral.
Admirable.
Yeah.
Right. 2-star senior person.
Yeah, there we go.
By now, but you're not. You're here, captain. I'm where I belong. Yeah? But this person was exactly the right person for a mission that was impossible for everyone else to. But he took a team of people with him. He showed them, firstly, servant leadership. I can fly the thing that you think you can't fly. Let me show you how. Yeah? Even though people think, no, he can't. He does it, and he does it in less time than everyone else expects. So I'm good enough to lead you because I can demonstrate the excellence that we're looking for.
Great film, by the way.
Yeah, unbelievable, right? But he doesn't want to keep going up. There's no vertical development. He horizontally developed. He developed a team of people in that moment to become excellent at this thing. Are you with me? So in terms of progression, in answer to your question, we've got to think on 2 planes, instead of 1. All right, and there are some people in your business that just want to be the mavericks of your business, and you've got to capture them because the impact that they're going to make on everyone else is going to be massive.
What book? I listened to a podcast or a book, and he spoke about rock stars and superstars, and your superstars are the vertical progressors. The rock stars are the ones who they're rock steady at what they do. They excel at what they do. And again, if you look at your team, you'll have that person who is unbelievably good at the role that they're at and they're happy to do it, but that's the width. And your superstars are the ones who might not be with you forever because they're on this rocket ship journey.
Inevitable trajectory.
Yeah, and that's fine. People are on their own journey, aren't they? And those you can't always keep those people in the business, but your business benefits from them whilst they're within your business.
And afterwards, I've told this McDonald's story a million times, right? That probably puts McDonald's in a really good light. I left there before you lot were born.
I think we were born by the time you left, just about.
Yeah, okay, that's nice. But I've gone on to other situations, taking that legacy with me, but I've got that story to tell, which puts a different light on it. I think businesses should think of themselves as, let me be that institution where someone comes into and has an indelible experience so that whereas they move through the rest of their life, we're part of their story. We're part of that.
Yeah, we land on their timeline so positively.
Yeah.
So important to do it, though. I think.
I think so. That's an aim. That's for me. I think that does the business
legacy, isn't it?
Massively.
But it shifts. I think it shifts. So that again, it's from another book, and I really should start citing these books. But it was to do when people come and go in your business, especially in small business. It's really easy to take it personally, really easy. Why on earth would they want to stop working for me? And then I read something about don't be offended by people being on their own journey. And then it just shifted in my mind. And now we have people hand a notice in, like people leave businesses. It's just completely natural. And if I can see that actually, okay, their time here is done, they're on to the next part of their journey. It's a handshake and it's I wish you luck. We've benefited from your time here and the door's open if you want to come back. Sometimes they're leaving because we've screwed up and they're trying to get away from a situation. That's not a journey. But when people do leave the business, make it a positive thing. It's not always a negative, and you can't stop it. And if it does tend to be a journey thing, you're only kicking that can down the road because that person is still going to go at some point.
Totally.
And again, people listening to this, if you're a business owner, at some point you were employed, at some point you were a big loss to someone, and you've ended up opening a garage or whatever the circumstances are. But as soon as I got that mindset, I stopped getting as upset about people leaving.
Brilliant. And I think what would be a wonderful endorsement to people going through a journey that includes your business, right, is if others have gone through this and then they've had their moment of success at some point in the future, they've built their own thing. And if someone says, well, how do you do that? And they turn around to you and say, if you want to become me, you've got to walk this path and start here and work for this person in this business. They'll give you those starting tools, those foundational tools that I found invaluable, that I was able to build this. When people can endorse you like that, and that's one of the aims. We're supposed to have a churn, but you're supposed to create such an effect that people say, you've got to go through what I went through and go and work for that person, go and work for that business, because I'm telling you, you'll change. It will make all the difference. You'll see stuff that you've never seen before. You'll work in ways that you've never worked before. You'll become something that you can't envision right now, and it will be right for you. Trust me, go and work for them.
Yeah, it's like that cliche, isn't it? Whatever's meant for you will never pass you by. And I do believe that, like, in work as well, like, you can, be made redundant, or you come to the end of the road somewhere and you don't expect it to come as soon, but you realise actually it's time now. And 6 months before that, you couldn't have imagined being anywhere other than this place. But when we grow as people, we can grow in, totally different directions all the time. And even as people, we don't expect it. Recently we've at T10, I've probably had 10 years work experience in the last 18 months over situations that have occurred that I never saw it was going to come. And it took me by surprise, and I'm grateful for it because of the lessons that I've learned along the way now. But 2 years, 18 months ago, if you asked me some of the things that I'd have gone and done, I'd have gone, whatever, not a chance. But that's the surprise we get in business and running a business. And I think for me, it's, as long as you can part ways with somebody in a positive light, and you've amicably decided that, okay, your time here is done, I would always leave the door open for an employee that's brought me benefit. And I think whatever journey they then go off to do, they're going to go and get new skills, and they're going to come back with a new perspective. We had somebody recently that said, Lauren, I really want to come back. I've gone and done this and I want to come back now. Great, okay. They've come back with a whole new perspective. They've got a new set of skills and an appreciation for working under somebody that they want to work
100%.
with again.
I think with like all this we're sort of stepping on at the minute, and I've definitely been guilty of it for years, is that when I bring somebody in and I talk to people, and you can see that they're motivated off what I'm saying, and it's almost like it feels like a transfer of knowledge has happened, and I'm deluded in thinking that they just know what I know now because I've just told them and they've gone, yeah, sounds great. And because I feel like I'm so motivating sometimes that transfer of knowledge has happened, and I'd be daft enough to think that, but actually it doesn't happen like that. But
the risk there is day one they start. You're here recording a podcast, and they're just,
of course,
could be stuck,
and they haven't been exposed to the things that I've been exposed to, and I haven't been exposed to the things they've been exposed to, and this is where you're the whole premise of what we're trying to set out is you're creating a journey for both of you to go through. And the byproducts of how good that works is going to determine on each other's success. And I think that actually when you start diving into the details that we are here, you can start to see that I'm reflecting massively as the conversation's going. I was like, Nathan, you idiot. Nathan, you're an absolute idiot. Couldn't have done that. But then there's other things where I've gone, Nathan, actually, you knew what that was. I was intentionally doing it without realising that what sort of impact that's had. I've got an apprentice now, which I started with me right at the start of Westwood Tyre, which has actually just come up. It was 10 years ago, which is pretty cool. And he was my apprentice then, and he's now a JLR senior sort of like level 4 tech, and he's on an unbelievable journey, and he still comes in, and we have like a great relationship, and
there's no mean feat at all.
And I'm admirable for him, and we just share this like absolute respect for each other, and I want that for everyone if they go.
For sure. So T10 was started. It's my dad's business, and we were talking yesterday about silver spoons and things, and I don't feel that we're there, but I think some of the things that he's passed down to me, and one that fits really well, is the consciously competent model. Have you heard of it before?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's just how we all float about life unaware of everything until we're told something, and it's only then when we become consciously aware that we're incompetent in something, as leaders, as managers, as employees, anything, we have to be highlighted, and we have to be shown, actually, Lauren, you've done that wrong, or you've not done that, to then okay, the next time I do it, I'm still not going to have the best idea about what I'm doing, but I'm more aware and I'm tuned in. Yeah. And then, months down the line, I'm away and I'm going and I'm not thinking about it. And I'm now unconsciously competent in what I'm doing because of the skills that somebody's taken to share with me. Yeah. And I think that's a really big thing for a leader, more than a manager or an owner, a leader to be able to share those skills and say, hey, look, you're not doing this quite right at the moment, but this is how we're going to do it, and this is how I'm going to help you. And we're going to fall over many, many times, but it's how we get back up quick, isn't it?
100%. That's what consultancy does.
Yeah,
but for specific moments in time.
Yeah.
It's not indefinite unless you want it to be indefinite, but consultancy will jump in and go, right, let's figure this out. Let's help you become conscious about your incompetencies, and then get you so good at dealing with that it now becomes an unconscious capability going forward.
Yeah.
We're on an hour and 15 minutes. I want to just fire some questions at you guys, if that's okay.
Yep.
So, first question then. So, handling difficult staff and building strong workshop culture. We've touched on culture, but a very specific point within culture and a place where people will relate to this question. How do you handle underperforming employees without causing a conflict?
Okay. So firstly, you need to have a performance management process in place that you rely on no matter what. Yeah. This can't just be a feelings conversation. This needs to be a conversation that we always understood one version of truth.
So on performance management, so I'm going to dig into that bit specifically first.
Okay.
Because up until about 6 months ago, performance management for me was a negative disciplinary action.
It shouldn't be.
I think a lot of people listening to this will think performance management, you're exiting the business. You're on a path to exit.
Right.
So for those that haven't gone down the performance management route, you just want to dig into a bit more about when you say performance management, what do you mean exactly?
Right. Okay. Let's unpick that. I'm putting all the pictures in my head together to figure out how I'm going to say this. Right. A business leader or an organisation, no matter what size, should, at the director level, go, here's what we're going to do for the next year. This is what this business is going to grow like, be like, whatever. This is the journey of the business, right? They have a vision. That vision then is quite blue sky thinking, and it needs to then turn into tangible actions. So as it cascades down the level of management and leadership, it turns into more and more tangible actions until it turns into departmental functions. Each department now, to help achieve this thing that was envisioned, each department needs to do this stuff. So we go to a department and we go, right, hello, such and such a department. Here's the stuff we'd like you to include in your everyday working this year. The reason why we'd like you to include it is because we're trying to get to this place. So everyone understands why we're doing this extra effort, why we're focused in this way. So we give it to the person that's in charge of that department. That person the person in charge of that department then has the responsibility of seeing each of the members of their team and going, I'm going to dissect all of what's expected on us into performance conversations with each of these individuals.
So these are plans and metrics.
Yep.
Yeah, like KPIs, isn't it?
Yeah. But we understand what it links to. They're not just pointless stuff that you think your manager's telling you to do, and it then just drops into
just to figure out the
right. It shows my contribution that I'm going to be asked to do links into the business achieving this. Yeah, and so now we can add purpose. Right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
The issue that people have with performance management conversations, they're terrible with it because it has such negative connotation, as you said, Alex. The way they're conducted and what's achieved from these conversations isn't at all. I train on this a lot, and it's a real passion for mine to get people to rethink this and re-engineer it and use it as a thing to power change and power performance in their business. So instead of the traditional ways, I'm going to just do a little bit of visuals here. The traditional ways that people manage performance is that they've got their people performance document in front of them and they hide it from the other person, hold it up and they write notes. They have their person opposite them and they talk at the person. They don't talk with. They talk at the person. Here's what we want you to do based on last year's performance. Here's the strengths and weaknesses, blah, 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 blah. And the other person is just forced to comply and go, yeah, I agree. It's not a conversation with a person. And what should happen is that we sit an individual down, and before we ask them to undertake this new thing that we're going to do for the year, we've got to reflect on what happened. We've got to look back and imagine Lauren's now the person. I'm the person that's going to do a performance conversation with Lauren. I need to talk with Lauren at a comfortable enough distance, but it's got to feel like I'm with her here in this present moment. And I've got to look back at the past and go, Lauren, thank you. Thank you so much for everything that you did, blah, blah, blah. So we look back positive about what happened. And then we learn the stories, or I become aware in this moment of the stories of the things that perhaps were challenging, that you might not have been successful with, or it took a lot for us to achieve. Let me understand now how that felt for you, Lauren. Lauren now tells me that story of, oh God, yeah, that was so hard, blah, 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 whatever that thing is. I own that and go, I should have helped you more with that problem, and I won't let that happen again. Yeah? Is that okay? Yeah, that's fine. Lauren, this year the business is interested in achieving this. I've got 4 things I'd love to talk to you about that I think you're the only hands that it can go into. Are you happy for me just to have this dialogue with you? And what I'm hoping for is for you to be all right, we're taking this forward with my support. I think this is what you get from it. This is what the department gets from it. This is what the business gets from it. If you're happy to do these extra 4 things on top of your normal work. Are you okay with me talking to you about that? And then I turn around and tell you about, here's how we're going to kill it. Yeah? And the response is supposed to be that. The response is supposed to be this elevated, okay. Yeah, let's go.
I can feel it.
It makes you happy to be there for someone, though, doesn't it? And I think that's the most important thing.
This is performance conversations.
Yeah.
Yeah? No, now, all of a sudden, all your employees don't mind coming into the room to sit with you to find out, what's my mission, boss? What do you want me to do next?
It's like kids, isn't it? You give them a task, like, I bet you can't get dressed in 5 minutes so we can be ready. I'm ready in 3.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's those things, but it comes down to people, doesn't it?
100%. So just to follow Alex, that's how I'd set up the performance management thing. You're now saying when we get underperformance, I've already established this version of truth. Every business should have this tool in place, right? When we now get into underperformance, I'm supposed to catch that early. Underperformance isn't something that we've all suffered for 3 and 6 months. We've noticed it straight away. We've noticed it within days and weeks. So I sit down with Laura and go, hey, listen, I need to catch something here. What is it I'm missing? Because I'm sorry that I haven't been accessible enough because I can see there's a struggle. Yeah, what's going on? Yeah, and I try and catch that nice and early. Yeah, to then sort it out. Yeah, so that we don't get this underperformance. If it's something now that you say I can't do it, I don't want to do it because of personal reasons or whatever, things have changed. I can decide to take that thing that I asked her to do off her plate and distribute it somewhere else. Yeah. So technically speaking, managing underperformance should lead to positive outcomes if you manage this thing properly. Does that make sense to you?
It makes perfect sense, and we've recently started down that path. As I said, for me, it's a recent learning about performance management because it was always an exit tool. We've got performance management in place. We've got routine meetings now. That is all well structured. So the answer to that question is prevention, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it's not blind. So the issue that we had is we would often discuss underperforming, and we could discuss it for months, but the person we're speaking about isn't even aware. They're not even aware.
Yeah.
So you're almost talking about them exiting the business, and from their perspective, it's news to them. They're not even aware of it.
3 months later, you've shocked them by going, "That's not good enough," and when really that whole cultural shift
It's crazy.
happened.
Damage is fully done.
How can they not know? That's the assumption, isn't it? That was a great answer.
Yeah.
But you did allude to something that I know lots of garage. That's one of those answers where it's like, right, so to talk to this person, I need a business plan and a budget. And for me, the answer to that is yes. You can have an underperforming person, circumstantially, whatever that you need to deal with. But actually, to do this long term, you have to have a business plan. I've banged the drum about budgeting and everything for so long.
Yeah.
But everything stems off that, doesn't it?
Of course it does.
How do you even know what good looks like without that?
Right. Where are you leading them to? You've got this. I normally talk in nautical terms as well. So here's your business, it's a ship that's going to come out of the docks and it's going to sail somewhere. You're going to want to go somewhere. Well, number one, we need to know that you can navigate. You know the route you're going to take. You know the cargo that you need. And you know where you're going to end up. If you don't know any of those things, where are we going?
Yeah.
Yeah. How are we going to avoid the icebergs? I mean, what I don't want, you kamikaze leader, is for you to then press the throttle down on the acceleration of the business whilst there's an iceberg in front of you and you're not changing course. Yeah, and you're absolutely deaf to everybody warning you as well.
But I feel like people are sick of hearing it. And when you are a business and you're operating your day to day and there's fires everywhere and it's before you know it, Friday's come round again. You've not had time to bring your head up to breathe.
Right.
When are you going to get the time to sit down and do a budget?
Right, okay.
And this is a real challenge because for me, when we started budgeting, and I do it across every single business function that there is, it fundamentally changed the game. And now we prioritise that.
Right.
But how do you get to that point? Because most people, what is a budget? Where do I start? What do I do?
Okay.
Like practically, someone in that position, and that would be most people listening to this won't have a budget.
Right, okay. And it's because they can't develop. It's not that they're not capable of creating a budget, it's that they don't have the time to do it. The answer is, well, you haven't empowered enough people in your business to take care of your business so that you can take the step back to then do the budget work that you're supposed to do. You are drawn into your business, so much so that you're unable to be free of it now, okay? Your first objective is to release yourself from this business. The only way you can do that credibly and confidently is to empower all those others to become super good. The quicker you can do that, the quicker you can get into that position of stepping back and then creating that budget to then figure out how do we now become excellent. So
it's quite daunting, isn't it?
Why?
Because
it's not the norm. It's probably the main reason, I think.
And again, it's all chicken and egg, isn't it? It's like we've got this underperforming person, but actually we can't really. We're now dealing with the outcome of not planning properly because we've not had a budget, we've not set expectations, there's no routine sit down. But to do that, I need to be able to step back from the business and find the time to do that.
Sure.
But to do that, I need high performing staff, and it's like
because you're already out the gate, it makes it feel harder than what it is. But the reality is, to do something you've never done before, you've got to do stuff you haven't done.
Yeah.
So
if you always do what you've always done.
Yeah, it's that definition of insanity. But you've got to set some time aside to be able to do it and realise it's got to stop.
Or invest in having more time. So. Again, this is another reason why consultancy and coaching comes into play, is that whilst you're trying to figure out how to leverage the opportunity to step back, bring in someone that wants to stand by you, be those eyes and ears, be that voice, be that wisdom, be that clarity that you're going to need, that you can't directly apply. Allow them to apply some of that so that then that can create some spaces. Allow them, we're in a unique but wonderful position, because we can turn around and go, right, we can see the stuck problem that you've got. It's to do with some character and attitude and everything else. Well, we've got coaching capability and we've got training capability amongst us as a body of people. So we can come in, reinvigorate everybody so that we can have a renaissance, we can have a change of attitude, change of understanding of how skills are released within the business. Then we can start to work on, from a coaching intervention point of view, we can work with people to help them change attitudes if their attitudes will change. If they won't change, at least we can report on it and then say, you need to make a decision about getting rid of or making some personal changes here. But whilst that's happening, we're helping you get the business to this new level. Yes, it's an investment for you, but you can start to see quite quickly, once you've invested, it should now start to change the profit number, because if we're right and good at doing what we're supposed to do, and we are, you're going to start to see those changes in your business, in several different domains, right?
And the profitability is normally a pretty quick change, isn't it? It's not normally not that many issues wrong with profitability, providing the work's there, which it normally is. A few tweaks and the profit can start flowing.
It can be crazy. It can be like really small, especially within a garage business. Like you could have a car sat on a ramp for 2 days that's just easier to keep up on the ramp because you're waiting for a part to come in. All that work that you've lost in the meantime that you could have been being productive on because you didn't want to take it off. It's small changes like that. And I mean, like you say, it's easy for us to say it because we're on the outside looking in. I think one of the main things for me when we're talking about consultancy and we're talking about, management training, those sorts of things, is actually pulling leaders, people of influence that are within that business out of the business and taking them from working in the business and put them on the business. Because when they start to look at the business and they're working on it and they're no longer doing the day-to-day and they're firing emails here and there and they're operational, they're so much more productive in terms of the future-proofing it, because all the time that they're head down and they're trying to find a way out, they're going to continue in that way until they come out and they're pulled out by someone, like us, like Carl coming in and saying, right, okay, stop. Now let's reevaluate. And we do something in our training and we call it the T10 White Room. So as a business, you could pull every single thing out here. So from the chairs downstairs in reception to the trees that you've got, we want everything out, like nothing. We want just a shell. You can keep the floor, but that's it. Nothing else is going in. Every single thing that you put back and every single person, because they're all come out as well, that goes back into your business, they have a purpose, they have a role, and they have something that they're bringing. So the person that you're putting to answer the phone, are they a credible person? Do they have the right training? Do they know what they're doing? Are your customers going to feel confident with them? Or are you putting somebody back on the phone because it's easy, so you're not doing it? And are you then giving them the right skills and training to be able to say, okay, I can do this and I'm now competent because you've had the confidence in me, you've given me the right tools to do what I need to do, and now I'm going to thrive for you. Whereas the two others that came out that are stood in the car park still and going, no, we didn't really like it there anyway, they're no good to you. They're not the people that you want to bring back in.
Love that. Is consulting, having a consultant and a coach the same thing, or is it different?
It's different. We're lucky because we can interchange them. Not everyone that is a consultant perhaps knows coaching capability and coaching techniques. Coaching is an important facet, but the two are independent. I've been fortunate in my journey. All of it's fused together. My first degree is in psychology and developmental psychology. So how people think and what people do and how they behave, with a little bit of sociology involved there. So what do people do in groups? And then whilst I've worked in learning and development, I've picked up a number of different things. It wasn't until I was at the Mercedes-Benz Training Academy and the head of the apprenticeship program, a guy called Lee Passmore, lovely Lee, if you're listening, put me on a level 7 coaching course. And I was pretty good with people by then. Coaching changed so much about what I understood on how to have conversations with people without contaminating the conversation. So I'll give you this one trick. Coaching isn't like mentoring. Mentoring is about bringing your expertise, your understanding and your opinion to the table and offering that and putting it into someone else's experience. Coaching has nothing to do with you. So it's about you asking good questions so the person can bring forth clear answers or or suggestions about how they map their way through this. But it's not about you contaminating the way that they access answers with your opinion. So you have to. There's a thing in coaching we call clean questions. You have to ask questions in a way that makes them explore and seek out inside themselves answers.
I love that. What's the long-term benefit of that style instead of saying this is my way, this is how you should do it?
So they own it. So when you start telling people stuff, it doesn't sit, especially if you're reprimanding or whatever, because you use coaching to change behaviour as well if it's underperforming behaviour. But if you start telling people, I don't want you to do this, I don't want you to do that, you must listen to me, it's like listening to a significant parent or someone else, it just turns into this noise that doesn't sit with you. You just hate being there. Your defences, your amygdala, your normal biological defences just go block, protect yourself. And so you don't absorb anything, or you don't absorb much of what's being said. You leave the room thinking, there's all this negative feeling, right? And at some point or another, 6 months later, like children do, you might repeat the behaviour again. I told you, it's the I told you once before, and you're back to having this difficult conversation. Coaching, because it comes from the person and you've helped them see it, it's with them, it stays with them. They can't forget the experience. They realise the mistake or they realise the opportunity to change. And it's there with them. It's like the memory of that teacher that you just had. It stays with them so long and so powerfully that it stops them from, or it's more likely to stop them from repeating the behaviour. So that's the long-term benefits. When you draw it out of them, it's theirs and it always stays theirs. It's not something you've deposited into them in an angry or slightly negative exchange. I've told you, finger pointing type thing, which in lots of independent businesses, let's just be honest, lots of independent businesses are perhaps managed by people that have come through being handled by individuals that command and control and tell and point on the boss, do as you're told. And in some ways, they might replicate that in some sort of way and project that onto others.
Back to learning from others, isn't it?
Right. And so that's not a good thing. And what we're trying, coaching offers this opportunity of here's how we talk and look after people differently. Here's how we develop people differently. That gets them to own their stuff, but positively own that stuff, and then want to do something about that.
Yeah. I find it funny though, do you, when somebody in a business, you could be, fantastic at what you do, and you take on the role of, I'm going to coach you and I'm going to teach you everything that I know. And it's in that phrase, I'm going to teach you everything I'm going to know. Yeah. And it's like, no, you can't say you're coaching people because you're not coaching. You're mentoring, and you're doing a fantastic job at mentoring them. Yeah. But to coach somebody is not the phrase to use, and it's not what you're doing. When you're coaching somebody, you're a guide, and you're literally zipped. Your ears are doing more than when you're talking, and
100%.
And the person that's on the other end of it is, I want to do this and I want to do that, and I've got all these ideas, and this is how I think it can work. And you just go, okay, and so tell me more, tell me why. And you're constantly pulling like how and why you're going to do that. When you're so deep in a business already, you might turn around and go, yes, but you're right, but when you also do this, that also works really well. So you're contaminating the conversation
That's exactly
with
right.
your views then of, I've done that before, actually it didn't work. You have to let people fall over, and even as a coach, you can stand there and go, I wouldn't be doing that if I were you, but it's your road, it's your journey.
But you can lead them out of it with the right questions. Even if you don't want them to do that, you ask the clean question of, so if you were to try that and that wasn't successful, what would you do next? What's the issues that you can see around
They've
that?
They've got the toolkit to get out.
And you open up their vision just by asking good questions. Right now, I just want a quick add in. Right now might be a good time to make a bit of an announcement.
Oh, yeah. Of course.
So someone round this table.
Well done, Nathan.
Yeah, well done, Nathan. Okay.
What can I say?
When we talk about coaching and mentoring, it is, I think, this is a lifeblood. It's such a critical aspect of what we do within our business. Everybody should learn elements of it. People in leadership and have responsibility of others reporting into them absolutely should have this as everyday tools. that they rely on and use as they have their relationships with all the people that they have the relationships with, and they expect them to hit certain quality goals, targets, and everything else. And I believe in coaching and mentoring so much so that I applied to the Oxford Brookes University back in November of 2023 to do a doctorate in coaching and mentoring, specifically looking to research the right kind of coaching and mentoring language that's right for the independent motor, our little sector, our little thing. Because I want to find those really important bits of language that we can trust and build a toolkit of communication for all the people that are in our space. And I've got good news. 2 days ago, the university, I had an interview the other week, and 2 days ago, the university contacted me and said, Mr. Williams, we proudly accept you onto the programme. So you may clap. Thank you.
No drum roll on tape.
You've got better tape.
We'll add a little sound effect.
So I'm super humbled by this. This is a really great opportunity. And what we're hoping to do, because T10 are sponsoring me through this. So thank you. Thank you, T10.
Nice.
Great.
It's important stuff, isn't it?
And what we're going to try and do is do this from the bottom up. We're going to try and bring to people like yourselves and everyone else the language of love that's necessary to help these people enjoy and flourish and hit the targets and performance goals that we've set, but enjoy that journey that they're going on with that. So going to try and find that out, try and figure that out. We'll keep you posted on that, but that doesn't start until September of this year. But,
so I guess it leads on to a good question then, because can people work with you guys now?
Yes.
Like if someone's listening to this and thinks like the sound of that, what's available right now?
What's the steps?
Go on.
Come on then.
Bear in mind this episode will be out probably, where are we? September. March. Yeah. Probably March, April-ish, I hope.
Okay. So absolutely anyone can get involved with it. And I think one of the great things that we've got is we've got a team of 50 people kind of plus on our book. So it might be that you've listened to this and Carl isn't the right person that you think is going to be the one to lead you there. But there's going to be a team of other people, and it might be that there's a subject matter expert and you might have something specific, like it might be data, it might be people. It could be anything. And I think just get in touch and have that conversation. In terms of what it looks like for your business, it doesn't necessarily have to be a permanent fix that you want to have all the time. It could be a touch point where you get in touch and you say, okay, like monthly, I'd really benefit from a sound check and a call with Teams or something, or come for a coffee. It doesn't have to be as in-depth as like a full business audit, those sorts of things, but that's available as well. So it's very much something that if it appeals to you and it feels like it's something you want to do, absolutely get in touch with us. We're also going to be running it. We work really closely with LKQ Academy as well. They're a really great client of ours, and it's going to be available on their platform as well. Wow. So it's
so they can spend their points on.
I don't know if they'll be able to use their points on consultancy specifically, but it's something to absolutely consider if you're going to be doing training.
Just make cost of entry a lot easier for businesses as well.
Absolutely.
So is it if they pick the phone up, no obligation, have a chat with you guys, and figure out.
For me, this year, my target, because of lots of things going on, I've got capacity to take 10 businesses on from May till December this year. And I'm really keen to take on 10 companies that are forward facing. That, I work with Nathan, and I've worked with Nathan now since August, right? August, September. And so, similar types of businesses that have got that attitude of wanting to either make a change in there because something's painful, or they want to go into new territory because they just want to grow, whatever.
Want to progress.
Yeah. So I can do 10 businesses this year, and for me personally, I can probably 2026. 27 and 28, I will look after 20 businesses maximum
for that year.
For that year, T10 can do 3, 4, 5 times the amount of people because of the resources we've got, the amount of businesses that I can individually. Yeah, so that's just worth giving.
It's great. It's great.
Yeah, and I mean, from my experience as well, it's been a massive eye opener for me because my whole premise has been trying to build that coaching conversation into the words that come out of my mouth, which I really struggle with, like being so highly motivated all the time and wanting to move at lightning speed.
At a pace, yeah.
At a ridiculous pace. Like Carl's definitely been the one to sort of just double check me because of his automotive experience and having friends around, which is also so inspiring. But like having that coach alongside me has really sort of just made me think completely differently to what I actually want from myself. Never mind what I want from my team.
Well, it's an important question, isn't it?
Yeah. What? Like, I mean, I have a vision for the company, and I've tried to make that clear before I started taking on the coaching conversation. But really, I've been able to dig deeper on it, and I've been able to find more of my blind spots quicker because of having that coach asking me the right questions, which are clean and not leading me to say something that person wants me to say. Because, and I think that also helps because you're not a garage owner.
No.
Yeah.
No.
But it's so self-aware that not a garage owner, but also still being able to ask those questions, which make me dig deeper than I would have if I would have spoke to a garage owner. I think sometimes we spend so much time around garage owners that obviously we pray that they're as highly motivated for what we want as what they are. That often sometimes the problem still exists even though you are speaking to that garage owner. You need to take yourself outside of that, because actually we're selling to non-garage owners.
Yeah, and each solution is unique, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's not a this works for us, so it works for you.
No, exactly
Yeah,
that.
everyone will be totally different. It's like a fingerprint. Nothing's ever going to be the same in your business compared to yours. We've all got the same great set of intentions, but how we're all going to achieve our goals is going to be different every single time.
Right, we'll wrap up there because we are hour and 45.
That was amazing. Thank you very much, guys.
Is that all right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for travelling up,
Yeah.
No problem.
across,
Up.
across, up,
Yeah.
both up.
Up.
Yeah.
Both up.
Really enjoyed that chat.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thanks for
just
having us.
completely unique conversation. We've not
Yeah.
had something like that before, so thank you guys. Really
No
appreciate
problem
it.
at all. No problem at all.
There'll be links within the descriptions to
Yeah.
you guys.
Yeah.
Just get you on LinkedIn and reach out if
Absolutely.
they've got
Definitely,
if you want to
definitely,
carry on the
definitely.
conversation.
Yeah. Thank you very much, guys.
All right, we'll leave it there.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you,
Can I,
guys.
can I just do this for the microphone and say good night to and goodbye to all the listeners of this?
They're definitely going to be contacting you now.
Oh, wow.
Thank you
Beautiful
very,
voice.
very much.
Good night.
Subscribe.
Yeah.
Right, we'll see you on the next one, guys. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you.